Hey guys, welcome back, and we have another week of box office, so let's get into it. Up first, we have & Juliet, which played to 1,076,537 this week, compared to last week's 1,080,013 and 100% capacity. Now, Charli D'Amelio, who, I don't know how big her presence is making the box office better, but I think it is helping in some way. Is extended until September, I think. So I think that & Juliet is in a very safe spot after a kind of dicey end of the year. The Louis Armstrong musical, I think this was their last week, I think. I mean, who knows? I mean, no one saw it, so who would even know? 87% capacity and 677K this week, which was its best week ever, I think. Vista Social Club had 3 performances, 447K and 100% capacity, so a pretty solid start. The average paid ticket was $142. It's not an original piece. It is based off of the Jukebox album, or not Jukebox album, but it's a Jukebox musical. So even though it had 3 performances and you can't make $1 million with 3 performances, I would have preferred it if there was a 5 instead of a 4. But I know that it is an original story, so it might take a bit of time. But I'm very interested to see how this does, considering that it was at one point considered the frontrunner to win Best Musical. But now with maybe Happy Ending and Dead Outlaw, I don't know if that's going to happen. Cabaret, 94% of seats filled, and 1,114,515 last week, and 1,075,731 this week. Death Becomes Her, 97% of seats filled, and 1,304,776 last week. And this week, 1,119,950. It had a much lower ticket price of about $97. I think this was a discount week, I don't know. There was just a lot of shows that's their average ticket was down, so I'm just gonna go with that. A Gypsy without Audra, I didn't know she was out this week, did 58% capacity and 1,476,352 compared to this week's 877K. Once again showing that stunt casting in revivals can only take you so far. Hadestown did solid even though it suffered by about 100K, 98% of seats filled, and 855K last week to this week 724K. One thing I've been asking myself is, are they going to put out the pro shot, and they're filming that in London with the OBC cast this year? If I'm a producer, I don't think I would, because as you all know, Hadestown, you know, at the end of 2023 was doing pretty poor in terms of box office, and they had to bring in a lot of stunt casting. And it's been very smart. They've kept the show relevant, and they've kept people coming back to it by having either very beloved musical stars or talent or singers, songwriters, actors. But again, I wonder, is it the best move financially to put out a pro shot? I personally think it would affect the business, not a ton, and hopefully they do put it out soon. But if I'm a Hadestown producer, I might just wait to see what 2025 brings, because they don't have any big stunt casting now, and they're doing pretty solid, and they don't want to kind of mess with that. So it is a tough balance. You know, something like Hamilton, you can put out the pro shot because it's making $1 million plus a week. You know, it's not gonna dent the box office too heavily. But Hadestown is in a very, sensitive, in the middle of the road area, and, I personally think that, it should wait. I think they should wait. Hamilton selling out, and 1,921,803 last week, and 1,900,135 this week. Hell's Kitchen, 88% capacity, and 1,148,333 to 1,074,324. Maybe Happy Ending continues to be a very successful new musical, thank goodness. 94% of seats filled, and 887K to this week's 818K. And then we have Moulin Rouge, which is, oh my god, doing so bad. 90% of seats filled, 1,096,166 last week. This week, 884K, its lowest week ever in its entire run. You guys are controversial on the sweaty oracle, but I believe him because he's been pretty consistent about what he's gotten right and wrong. And he says it's going to close this year, and these numbers are not surprising. There comes a point when the stunt casting dries up, and it's just time to end it. And it's time to end it. Operation Mincemeat did incredibly well considering it's an original musical, but it has a pretty solid fan base, and I think it built a lot of buzz from London. And it did have 7 performances, selling out and performing to 666K this week. That's the kind of number you want to see from a new musical, whether it be a jukebox or a new musical. This is what new musicals would do pre-COVID. Now there are kind of exceptions to that in certain aspects, but they would get to this number quicker than post-COVID musicals did. Redwood, despite terrible responses from both critics and audiences, is a juggernaut. 89% of seats filled, 988K last week, and 954K this week. It's making $500,000. It's making a profit. It's doing good. But if Adina wasn't in it, different story. And that's going to be the continuing message. 93% of seats filled, and 826K last week, and 851K this week. Sunset Boulevard is having a bit of a decline, but it's a limited engagement, and it's going to do well in its final months. 88% of seats filled, and 1,296,763 last week to this week's 1,160,383. The Great Gatsby, 92% capacity, and 1,324,367 last week, which was amazing. And this week, 1,141,313. And then to cap it off, The Outsiders, 102% capacity, and 1,548,537 to this week's 1,443,576, aka not going anywhere anytime soon. So that's the box office for this week. Like, sub, comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.